just give us a gist about who you are and what you do in the current, and where you're at. Your little, if you had to give a elevator pitch of yourself, what would that be like?
Sure. So I am a longtime animal advocate, and I um, grew up with a very compassionate mother who really instilled a sense of compassion and respect for animals um, in me, and I've taken that and applied it to my full-time living in 2023. And what that means is I work to raise an awareness about the ways in which animals are being abused around the world, and I work to inspire people to make more compassionate decisions and choices that make a better world, a kinder world for animals.
I love that because it's um a trickle down inspiration, right? Your mother to you to many, including myself, right? A big reason why we're talking here today, and I think that's so phenomenal. Let's kind of just do this in three parts, and obviously, I can dissect this, but I think the first part should be journey. I think we should talk a little bit about if there's anything that you do besides just animal welfare. Is anything else in the activism nonprofit that you do that'd be cool to talk about? We'll do tips and tricks for the trade, getting into it, pros and cons, and I think that should wrap us up around 3 o'clock. So let's do that. So again, I think it's so dope what you do. I love how you got there, but I think we need to tell people how you got to, how many years you've been doing this, how you started getting into it, the steps that you took to be who you are and what you're doing today.
So I went vegan in 2009 because I watched a film called Earthlings, in which I learned how animals are being abused in the food system. And I realized that's not something I wanted to pay other people to do. I wasn't comfortable with that. And after watching this movie, Earthlings, narrated by Joaquin Phoenix, I went vegan and became an animal activist. And I was going to college around that time. So while going to college, I would volunteer in a variety of capacities. And then when I graduated college, I got a job with a group called Vegan Outreach, where they paid me to travel around North America, basically living out of my car, handing out vegan leaflets at college campuses all over North America. I went to hundreds of schools in dozens and dozens of states and provinces and handed out hundreds of thousands of leaflets. And I truthfully loved that work, and I found it to be really effective and a great way to raise awareness about how animals are being treated and to encourage compassion. And after doing this for a few years, my mom got sick, and she turns out she had stage 4 small cell lung cancer. And when she got sick, I took a hiatus from my the traveling in my job, which I couldn't do because I took care of her full time. And while I was taking care of her, the opportunity arose to take over the social media for vegan outreach. And what I realized, and I should mention that I basically uh, reluctantly accepted this position to take over the social media. I didn't want to do it really, but the person who was in charge at the time said, John, you have really good personal social media presence. I think you'd excel in this role. And so I reluctantly accepted and became the director of communications for Vegan Outreach, which meant running and overseeing the social media for the platform. And I did that, and I very quickly realized that in a good day of social media outreach, I could make more of an impact than I could in a year or even a decade of person to person outreach on college campuses, handing out leaflets. And it was almost a hard pill to swallow because I really loved leafletting, but it was also pretty amazing that I knew I could make such a massive impact for animals in the digital space. And so I ran and oversaw the social media for Vegan Outreach for 2 years. Then I left and I joined a similar organization called the Humane League. I ran and oversaw their social media for 3 years, And then about 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, actually, I left the Humane League to become an independent animal advocate and focusing on my own social media accounts to maximize the good that I can do for animals, to inspire change. And in that time, my tweets and posts on Facebook, Instagram, and so on have been seen hundreds of millions of times. And I have heard from thousands of people who have been impacted by my work and impacted by the content that they've seen on my social media pages. And they have been inspired to live in a way that is kinder for animals.
That's that's a this is an amazing, long, but I'm sure just worth it, fruitful journey that sounds like you have taken a trajectory that grew with how the outreach world in general um, uh, has grown, and doing it for for all good reasons, and I love that you still balance that with taking care of the human who gave you that ability to do what you do. Let's before we get into a few of the other things that we had already mentioned, what type of content were you putting out that really hit with people that you saw that, okay, this is working, let's do more of it?
Yeah, so the kind of content that I've found that works from even the very beginning of my social media advocacy has been content that puts animals in a light that they otherwise wouldn't see. So most people, have relationships with cats and dogs, and they know what to expect, and they make assumptions about what farm animals experience, and they think that maybe these animals live decent lives with one bad day, but you and I know that farm animals live. Uh, Sorry, here's Dakota. Dakota, what do
Oh,
you
yeah,
want? What do you
please.
need?
What do you do?
uh, she just came into the room and did a big yawn. She's like, give me attention. So, um, anyway, I found that the content that works for people is content that shines a light on what animals face, and particularly farm animals, because most people don't know the horrors that farm animals like cows, pigs, and chickens endure, and fish. But also, I showcase the experiences, the positive experiences that farm animals experience in animal sanctuaries and so on, where people can see a piglet getting a belly rub, or a person cuddling with a cow, or a person petting a chicken and the chicken is purring. Things that people normally don't get to see, these sides of farm animals. And then that, you know, becoming aware of what these animals are enduring and experiencing, and the lives that they can live, they have potential to live, I think really can inspire people to make a difference for animals through their own individual choices.
Yeah, I can, as a audience member of that, can definitely preach to that. So no, that's super stellar. I love that. That's a great way to put it.
Hey, I'll be right back. I can
Yeah,
hear you. I
yeah,
just
you are fine
Dakota wants to go on the porch.
for sure.
Oh, no, she wants to go outside, so she can wait. Okay,
Oh yeah, we'll be done here in 10. She'll get an
cool.
extra feet for her patience, right? Uh,
Exactly.
no, I love what you went through in that realm, and I could definitely speak to that as well, because that's a lot of stuff that hits me of thinking, oh wow, these aren't just in somebody who's been vegan for a handful of years and has always kind of felt the same way that you have, seeing them as more than just animals, more than just farm animals, especially, really humanizes them, because like you said, we've always kind of focused on cats and dogs, who also were, in the beginning, just, farm animals and rodent animals and working types of things, and now are full on companions. I mean, shoot, I have a friend whose duck lives inside their house, right? So, um, it goes a long way to say that we've got a relationship, and they're worth too to this world. Without them, we don't have really anything. No, that's spectacular. And then if someone, because you talked about how you started and what you've been doing, if someone wants to get into activism, whether it is animal welfare, or any of the numerous amounts of sectors that could need more and more amazing humans like yourself, what are some tips and tricks to start getting into those?
So you know, animal advocacy is something that every animal lover out there should get involved with because it's a way that people can make a really big impact. And, something to keep in mind for vegan advocacy, especially, is that veganism is the single most important and powerful tool that each one of us can use to help animals. And that's because each one of us impacts dozens or hundreds of animals every single year through our food choices. And by being vegan, you help dozens or hundreds of animals, which is amazing in itself. But then encouraging other people to be vegan is actually something that could exponentially help more animals. And that could lead you to be what has been deemed or never mind, I won't say that. But what by helping encourage other people to go vegan, you can help thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of animals over the course of your life. And so, for those who are interested in getting involved, what I highly recommend doing is people reaching out to the individuals or organizations who they look up to and they aspire to be, and to ask them how they can help, how they can get involved. And almost every, if not every single animal protection organization out there is in need of volunteers, interns, maybe even employees. And so I'd highly recommend reaching out directly to the groups who they want to get involved with. And they will let them know how they can get involved. And I can tell you that, the animals face a lot of cruelty and a lot of problems in today's world. And so, therefore, there is a huge amount of need. So, in your lifetime, there is never not going to be the need to speak up for the animals. And so, if you want to make a difference, please reach out to your favorite animal organizations or individuals who are advocating for a better world for animals.
That's phenomenal. If outside of those things, what are maybe just one or two things someone can do on their own, um, to make this world a better place, especially in the name and the sake of animals?
Well, one we've already discussed, and that's being vegan. Obviously, I want everybody to go from A to Z, but I recognize that not everybody is going to go from A to Z overnight, and that's fine. It's a journey that will work for everyone, and so, or it has to work for everyone. And if you want to go do meatless Mondays. That's a really fantastic start, and that makes a difference for animals. And you should definitely try meatless Monday or vegan weekends or vegan weekdays, whatever works for you. I really recommend experimenting with things. And something to keep in mind is that the hardest part about change isn't the change itself; it's getting at the courage to make that change. So there's a plenty of change that you can do, that you can make, that is going to help animals. And so, of course, being vegan, but then, of course, encouraging other people to be vegan or at least to eat more vegan food. And one way you can do that is on social media. You can post about the great vegan food that you're eating, or post a link or a video of a documentary that you saw that talks about how the ways in which animals are being treated, and talk about how you feel about that. Talk about your experience with and relationships with animals and how they inspire you to be better. Excuse me. So these are various ways in which you can inspire other people to, make more compassionate decisions.
Yeah, and it's something that literally anybody with a fridge and a phone can do, right? And I think that's almost all of it. It's one of those things that truly has equity across the board. That's so dope. I guess with since I use the word equity, let's go into and we talked about your journey. We talked about getting into activism, things people can do, kind of on their own. Now, let's say they've done these things and then they've landed their dream of at least even becoming a volunteer with their favorite organization or getting a job. What are just give me keep it balanced, but give me a few on each, just so we can get an inkling because you have so much experience in this. What are some of the pros, and if there are any cons of or possible cons of getting into that space?
So do you mean like working in the space?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the pros of working in the animal protection movement, like having a full or even part-time job is that you can, you feel really good about the work that you're doing every day. You feel like you're really making an impact. And a lot of people out there have jobs where they feel like they don't really have much meaning. And whether or not that's true, it's a feeling that people have. But by focusing on a cause that is close to someone's heart, they can go to the office or go to the job and make a big difference simultaneously. So they can make a living, but also make a big difference. And it doesn't require them volunteering or interning on the side because the job itself is really making an impact. The negatives are that, when your passion becomes a job, sometimes that job can feel a little bit stale. And what that could do is, the fire and passion that you once had may fade over time. And also something else to take into consideration, and this takes, a certain level of honesty with yourself, is, replacement. So, for example, there's a new stat in sports where it's called, I believe it's called WAR, which is wins above replacement. And so what that takes is you comparing yourself to, or, one person being compared to another. And, let's say the average person may accomplish X number of wins over the course of a season. Well, you have to imagine that person being replaced with another person. Will they have more wins or less? So if you think about that sort of approach when it comes to advocacy, is that if you are going to take a job at a nonprofit, are you going to help more animals or help your cause in a better way than what somebody else would do? Because if you think you're going to get this job and you're just going to skate by and do the bare minimum, then that's actually a disservice to animals and a net negative. So it's really important that if you are really passionate about it and you want to do this work, then do it well, because that's the animals are depending on us to make a really big difference.
That's such a good balance. That like, hey, you can do dope shit, but you got to know that there's some caveats. And I think we all need that in life, regardless of what we're going into. A lot of those out there right now, somebody who spent the last 4 years in cannabis can tell you that while there's been a lot of great things that I've been able to do and that have come from it, I hit that that point of losing that passion. And industries are specific too, and organizations too. There's tons of great organizations in animal advocacy and welfare, and I'm sure there's probably not some. There's probably some that aren't as much, and very much goes for things the in the cannabis realm. Let's round it out with two ish things. The first and foremost is what do you in this current day, what are the services that you're offering, and what are you doing? What is your what is your life now that you've spent so many years in this in animal advocacy? What's that like? What can you do for others? How can you, because we didn't get tons into this with a short interview, help people expand on that journey of animal advocacy, getting into it, supporting it, whatever it may be? What are you doing these days for that?
So my life now consists of getting pro animal content to go viral on social media to get the maximum number of views that I can get when it comes to the content that I'm putting out there that supports animals. And much of that content is raising awareness about the cruelties that animals face behind the closed doors of factory farms and slaughterhouses. And some of that is inspiring people to see animals in a different light they otherwise wouldn't do. And that is my main focus and mission, and will be for the foreseeable future. And if people want to um, get involved with my work, they can certainly do so by engaging with my posts on social media, whether that's liking, commenting, sharing, retweeting, and so on. And then people can also uh, be inspired by this work and do it themselves. I'm not a magician. I don't have a PhD in social media science. I'm just a regular guy who's really looked at what's worked at social media and what hasn't over the course of time. And as a result, I've really crafted my message in a way that will work, and you can do the same. I actually teach I actually teach 3 different courses on social media advocacy through Advocacy Collaborative. So if you go to advocacycollab.com or .com, you can find 3 different courses that are specifically tailored towards social media advocacy, and people can take those courses and become better advocates for animals by using social media effectively.
Wow, I'm gonna have to look into that. It's awesome. A little bit of downtime, signed up a bunch of courses on a good nonprofit site, and I think I'm gonna look into the advocacy collab as well. So to round it out, since you've spent uh, your almost your entire adult life occupationally supporting such an integral and good cause, how can how can our audience support you?
Well, thanks for asking, Curtis. So the best way that people can support me is one or both of 2 ways. So for one, I already spoke about the importance of just engaging with me on social media. So following me and then engaging with my content. So liking, commenting, sharing, retweeting, and so on. But then, of course, if people have the means, by financially contributing to my work by becoming a monthly patron or donor of mine, I accept donations as little as $5 per month. And while that may seem like a small amount to you, it adds up for me and allows me to do this work full time. And this work I believe is important in raising awareness and inspiring compassion for animals and others.
That's so dope, and you're right. That little bit goes such a long ways. As I've seen you over the last few years, really making such an impact by being your own boss with the support of others out there, and then also obviously in that realm they get more out of it too, right? If they support you at certain different levels, they have the ability to get even more resources from you to help with the impact. If I am correct, right?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
There's a
that's
bit of an exchange, and people, I provide resources for people, and of course, becoming a donor of mine opens the line of communication where I
yeah.
can provide my expertise and experience, and give recommendations for anyone interested in focusing more of their efforts on protecting animals in the social media space.
Fuck yeah, I love that. Well,